Sportin Wales podcast.
Supported by DragonBet,
Your go-to for Welsh sports news and views.
Hello and welcome to the Sportin Wales podcast, sponsored by DragonBet and co-founded by Alex Cuthbert and Gareth Anscombe. I'm Geraint Hardy and I'm here to keep the guests in check as we look forward to the Sportin Wales week. Please remember to click follow and thanks for listening to this podcast. And this week on the pod, we have Gareth Anscombe and the most capped Cardiff rugby player, Mr. Lloyd Williams, joins us on his debut on the Sportin Wales podcast. Warm welcome to you both, especially to you, Lloyd.
Thank you.
Let's put Gareth straight on the spot, right, Lloyd, with a really tough question to start. You know each other really well, right, Gar? How many caps did Lloyd have for Cardiff?
Oh, 255?
That's wrong.
That's how well he knows. That's how well he knows me.
What is it?
I think I know 264.
Oh, you know what it is. You know what it is.
Is it 264, Lloyd, is it?
I hope it is. Yeah, I think so.
Okay, well, I Googled and it was 261. So I'm going to go you were correct, not Google.
I may be wrong.
No. But do you know what, though, Lloyd? Let's be really honest about it. As a local boy, that's pretty cool, isn't it? Most capped rugby player for your local team.
Yeah, I think since leaving and achieving it, it was something that I wasn't really. It's never something I set out to do. I always used to look at Fowl because I played with him for a long time, and I was very aware of him breaking the record when I was in the squad. And it was never something I really wanted to go for. But I guess since when the season came to an end and I moved on, looking back, it's something I'm really proud of. And yeah, like you said, it is a club I loved growing up, and to be the record holder is something I am really proud of.
When you were playing, how in the last season, were you aware of that kind of tally and the aims you could break the record?
I think it's going in that direction. I got my 250th appearance, which was a great occasion for me and the family. And then I think quite quickly after being a scrum half, you're either starting or on the bench. And I knew I could kind of map out that if the injury stayed away, I could probably reach it, and managed to do it right at the end, which is I felt a bit bad. We had a big the club, in fairness, did a big song and dance for the 250, and then I think a month or two later I was getting the same thing for the record break. I just trying to get back to playing, to be honest. But yeah, I think my parents got to really enjoy it more than I did at the time, which was quite nice for them.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it, Gar? Because like when you've got kids, seeing your kids achieve anything is pretty special. So like seeing your kid break a record like Lloyd did is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually on a separate note. Like I remember when Alan Wynne coming up to Judgment Day 2 seasons ago, I think he broke some record, and his kids were presenting him jerseys, and there wasn't a dry eye in the room. You know, as soon as you get the kids involved, it's quite emotional. So I imagine for Lloyd's parents, Bryn Moore, immensely proud of him. But, for me, even when we moved to Cardiff, Lloyd was a great help getting us settled. He was sort of the king of Pontcanna, knew his way around Cardiff pretty well. And he allowed me to, settle in really well. And it was a great help to us. And he's obviously gone on to be a great mate of mine. But to get, 260 caps in today's day and age with how tough it is just to keep your spot, the amount of people who change and move clubs, and then injuries is a heck of an achievement. And I'm sure saying that he'll probably reflect on a bit more once he's retired. But to get that record is well deserved for Lloydie, because he's certainly been one of the Cardiff's most consistent performers in the 10 to 15 years he's been there. Incredibly fit, even at the old age that he's getting to now. Still one of the fittest in the squads. Always leading the fitness sort of tests and things like that. So an amazing achievement for sure.
You say that though, right? And I don't know if Lloyd remembers this, but do you remember when you nearly killed me in a Cardiff match, Lloyd?
It's all coming back to me now. Yeah, I do. I think, was it like a bit of a shank of a box kick in the warm-up?
It was, yeah.
I got it out of the way before the game.
Well, you ran over, and so basically you were warming up, you did a shank box kick, hit me square on the head, and the whole crowd turned to me and went, "Heads!" And I was mid-talking with the microphone, and it whacked me on the head. And then Lloyd came over, pissing himself laughing. whisper saying sorry through it. And I was like, you're not sorry at all. But I saw you later on that night, I think we were in Tiger and you did say sorry again. So I think maybe you did mean it. But
it took the edge off the game. I was probably a bit nervous and that probably loosened me up a bit.
There you go. That's fine. But do you aim for the people on the side? Because, you know, as 10s and 9s when you're warming up, like how aware of you are of kind of TV crews and stuff on the side of the pitch?
I don't know about Gab. I'm pretty oblivious. I got a point. I like walking around the pitch beforehand and look at my spots where I'm going to try and kick the ball off. But I don't. If I am kicking the ball off, but I don't. I'm not really. I'm conscious of it in the warm up more than anything. Because we used to do it on the far side, and the amount of people me and Tommy hit over the years is hitting pints up. We must owe people a few quid. Not of pints we've hit out of their hands in the warm ups.
Guy, you must have hit some people and some pints out of their hands.
Yeah, we actually. I don't know if it might have been at Cardiff. I think I accidentally hit someone in the warm up once, and it actually got a little bit serious in the sense of I think. We got warned because I think there was almost like a legal matter. So I don't know what happened there. It got cleaned up, and obviously it was just an accident. Like Lloyd said, we're never trying to pick people out to hit. I will admit to some presenters and some of the boys that do the media, when I know that they're in range, I might try and get one close, just a little warning shot. But no, never trying to intentionally hit someone for sure.
Name some names.
I did during the World Cup. Rhys Priestland was following us around doing a fair bit of work for SLC, and I think him and Jamie Roberts, and I tried a couple to get near them and might have got them close a couple of times, but they're pretty wise. They knew what was happening too, so they know all the tricks themselves.
Yeah, fantastic. Gat, obviously you've moved to Gloucester recently, ready for the new season. You settled in? Are you doing flat pack furniture all over the place, painting and all that business now?
It's slowly happening. Yeah, we moved up last Wednesday. There are boxes everywhere in the house. The iPad's stuck resting on a box right now. As you can imagine, with two little kids, moving's even harder. So we're slowly getting there. It's not happening quite as quickly as we would have liked, but really enjoying it. Settled in really well, and starting to do some things with the boys outside the team, which is nice, and trying to find the coffee spots and things like that. So it's happened quickly, but no, really enjoyed it. It's a really good club, and really enjoying our time here.
Yeah, you mentioned Lloyd was your Lloyd Williams tour of Cardiff kind of thing. Who's the person in Gloucester that's going to take you under your wing there, do you think?
Well, I'm actually just following the younger boys at the moment. There's a crew around Cheltenham led by George Barden, who's a younger fly half, bit of a character. Him, Caelan Ingerfield, who's a young 9. And Max Llewellyn's actually still doing pretty well here. He likes to consider himself a bit of a Cheltenham massive sort of man these days. So he's been the one leading us around for brunch spots and coffee shops. So now that Thomas is training, we're following the younger boys around at the moment, picking up the spots. So it's been good.
Where were the places in Cardiff, Lloyd, that you'd kind of recommend to people?
I'd always say, I don't go far wrong from Pontcanna Street with Milkwood. You got Brava, you got everything there on that strip. You don't need to leave Pontcanna really. I was by the end of my time at Cardiff, I didn't think I left a square mile. It was time for me to go. the half. You could go Milkwood for brunch and then roll into the halfway for a pint then, and then you just go home.
Yeah, it's quite. You're right. So in London now, obviously that's a big city. Where have you settled? Where are you living? What area?
Chiswick.
Lovely.
Yeah, Turnham Green. So it was one of those. I'm not sure if Gareth experienced the same thing going to Cheltenham, but it was never. By the time you liked somewhere and showed a bit of interest, it was gone. There's such a high demand for up here. So the first time I saw the flat was on the Sunday night before my training started on Monday. I opened the door and that's what it was. So I'd signed a 12-month tenancy agreement, which turns out the flat was lovely. And Steve Shingler, who is also at the club, he went to view it for me. And yeah, it was great. It's a great part of London, and it's handy because the M4's right there. So I don't need to pop back. Feeling a bit homesick, I can jump in the car and be home in 2.5 hours. So it's a good spot to live at. Yeah, right on the river as well.
And what about if you win a big match, where'd you go to party in London? Do you go Central, or do you go? Is it Kensington? Like, where'd you go? I wouldn't even know.
The lads like Ealing quite a lot. I was naming those places, to be honest. At the start, I was like, where the boys headed, but everyone stays pretty local. They stay in the borough of Ealing. If we bit of kick on down to like Chelsea sometimes. Jack's, there's a place called Jack's, which the lads enjoy. It's a bit different to Cardiff in the sense that everyone just kind of nestles into the pubs for the night, whereas in Cardiff, you're on Mill Lane before you know it.
And what tips have you got for Gareth then settling into a new city? Because you must have found it a little bit hard. Kind of, you've been in Cardiff boy through and through, and then you go to London. So did you find it hard to settle in with a new team and being the newbie in the squad?
Well, I think Gareth did something that I would have recommended. It was move up to the area and throw yourself into it. I was very fortunate, and I think you are in rugby. As soon as you walk into the changing room, you've got 40 mates, kind of team colleagues who are kind of the same mindset and they like the same things. So I think being up there, being able to invest my time into the club and into the people up there was the best thing for me, because ultimately that's what grew the relationships. And it is different. It was definitely took a couple of months for me to settle here. I was in Cardiff for such a long time. I thought it'd be more seamless than it was. I thought I'd just move up and get cracking and all be fine. But it was took a bit adjusting, but I would have suggested exactly what Gareth's done. And he did that before I even had to tell him, which was get up to the area and kind of proper and engross yourself in the kind of vibe that is the club, really.
Yeah, Gar, you've done that. I know.
Which it sounds like he's doing.
Yeah, totally. Gar, I know we mentioned in other pods that initiation's around the corner. Has there been any talk of that yet?
Yeah, look, Gloucester have a pretty famous initiation. There hasn't been yet. I think so. We've trained this first block. We've broke it into a 3-week training block, and then we've got next week off, and then we're back in for another 3 weeks with another week off. And I think it sounds like potentially somewhere in the second block that we're about to go into, there might be the initiation. So some boys are starting to get nervous. Thomas Williams with his hairline is going to struggle, I think.
That's his last haircut.
But there hasn't been too much chat about it. But I think we like to keep it on the down low and then sort of surprise you last minute. So, yeah, that's going to be an interesting one, that one.
Yeah, for those that don't know, it's shaving your head, right? That's the initiation, is it?
Well, no, the initiation is the challenge is you've got 30 minutes to drink 8 pints of milk. You're not allowed to spew. And if you can get it done, you can move on. You don't need to shave your hair. But over the course of the years, it might be 20 minutes, 20 or 30 minutes. Over the course of the years, I think there's only been a select few that have managed to actually, do the deed. And it sounds like the only ones that have managed to successfully do it have been the guys with bigger frames, which I obviously don't possess. So I'm not expecting much, and I'm trying to prep myself for what will be a pretty horrific couple of months with a short hairdo, I think.
Are you in training for the milk now, that is?
I'm not even going to bother wasting my time, I think. But, I mean, the boys have talked about whether you can just pour it on yourself, but apparently it needs to be a genuine effort. So maybe when I get back from the week off, I might try and start getting a bit down here and see what happens. But even Max Llewellyn, who joined Gloucester last season, he came so late into the season because he was in the World Cup camps. He missed out on doing it. So there's quite a few boys that are actually will be up for it. So it's going to be an interesting challenge for sure.
Will they record that, or will it be completely private, do you reckon?
I don't know what they'll do. You'll definitely see the aftermath.
Yeah.
So it's just whether they share it or not. So, yeah, look, it's going to be uncomfortable, but yeah, I'm sure there'll be a good few of us with shaven heads around Chapman pretty shortly.
And saying no is not an option, I take it.
Look, I have heard of one or two. I won't name names, but apparently some have managed to use some get-out clauses. So I don't know. I did hear. Look, I was told that age was potentially a chance for you to get out of it with a seniority sort of complex. But there's been a petition to get that removed. So a few boys are going pretty hard at that at the moment because they want to make sure everyone does it.
Yeah, I would say I'd have the opposite effect. I mean, the older that you are, the less you should really care about what you look like. Do you know what I mean? You probably settle down.
You say that, but I think there's some guys also that, like Lloyd said, have probably got 1 or 2 haircuts left in them, and I don't know if they're ever going to recover from this. I think I'll be all right. Look, I'm not going to look great with a shaved head, but I've got a pretty thick set of hair. And I hope that it grows back before we get back to playing live games, but we'll wait and see.
Yeah. Lloyd, did you have to do one in London when you joined?
No, not really. We sang it. It's pretty. Don't tell the boys. It was pretty boring, to be honest. There's sing a song at the front of the bus and I chuck a few points back, which is absolutely nothing compared to what Gareth and Tommy have got coming up at Gloucester. But we've actually got someone at the club who completed that, Geordie Reid, and he's got dreads. Well, he did have dreads right down to his arse, but he completed that challenge at Gloucester, and it was the first thing he asked me when he found out two of my mates ago, and he was like, "They know what's coming." I was like, I think they do. It's pretty renowned in the rugby circles what the Gloucester lads have to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Apparently, he was off to a bit of an unfair advantage because he signed, I was told, during COVID, and obviously there was no rugby for so long and the team wasn't together. So apparently he spent most of COVID practicing, which is what I was told. Whether that's true or not, Lloyd, you have to find out. But apparently he spent COVID practicing sculling pints of milk.
Tell him, Lloyd, and you can come back to check in on that one.
Yeah, I will.
Obviously, you look excited to play again, Gar, right? Because there's a picture on social media that I saw, I think it was yesterday, from your missus.
She's so busy, isn't she? Doesn't give me any peace.
No, she doesn't. She's always kind of capturing you. But for those who haven't seen it, you're having your food by the looks of it, and you sat in your new boots for the new season, kind of while you're having your dinner. But I kind of loved it because, new boots, there's nothing better than new boots.
Yeah, look, I'm in a bit of an awkward spot in the size of my boots at the moment with what I'm wearing. So I find I really have to stretch them out a bit. Otherwise, you get blisters and they just bang your feet up. So as I've gotten older, I've tried to look after my feet a bit more. Whereas when I was younger, I probably didn't care. But you need to spend a good few hours in your boots. So I stretched them out the last day or two and spent 20 minutes in the house wearing them as well. So it was nice to chuck them on, but yeah, it would have been nice for my wife not to share that.
So is that your routine? You're wearing them like 20 minutes a night, or just the one evening of 20 minutes in the boots?
No, look, I knew I was training in them today, so I trust that what I've done now is okay. So you just got to break them in a little bit. I've got a boot stretcher, so I sort of hammer it with a boot stretcher first overnight, and then I spent about 20 minutes in them last night just while I was having some dessert, and they were good as gold today. So the hard work paid off.
It was worth it. It was worth the shame on social media.
Yeah, exactly.
What are you looking forward to most about playing again, Gar? Because it's been a while, isn't it? So is there something in particular in a game that you're like, that's what I can't wait to do? To kick a ball into touch, or kick for goal, or a tackle, or a pass? What is there something?
I don't know if it's as much that. Like I actually did my first. I've been doing a bit more of a rehab block this first block, and actually had my first sort of team session today. I didn't do it fully, but just jumped in a few drills and. It was probably that, just feeling like you're part of a team again and getting the ball in your hands and being around the boys is what I've missed. And, when you speak to all the boys that retire and move on from the game, I think it's that thing that when you move on from the game, you miss being around the lads, miss being in the changing room, miss doing those things together where it's hard work or celebrating things. It's those all things you miss the most. And I suppose over my injuries in the last year, I've certainly missed being in a team environment, and I was probably floating around by myself for a while, and no one plays rugby to sit in the gym and rehab, so I've done my fair share of that. So I think it's just being around with the boys. Gloucester's so well supported. I definitely can't wait for the first home game, and hopefully we get some good performances and turn some things around that we're working pretty hard on at the moment. And it's such a fantastic club to be able to play at King's Home and hopefully get a full crowd there will be amazing. So I think those moments are definitely what I'm most looking forward to.
Yeah, it'll be exciting when I see that place full and kind of playing amongst that crowd.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lloyd, you're speaking of gyms, you're outside a gym right now, so preparing for a new season. You staying put for another year, yeah?
Yeah, I'm here for another season. So just got underway, I think, we're 3 weeks in now. And a lot of change. There's 23 new players here at the club this year, it's a big change. A lot of different boys in, which is it's been good so far. Yeah, it's been a good. The pitch has been relayed, so we haven't been on the field that much, but it's I'm looking forward to it. We've actually got a pre-season game against Cardiff on the 31st of August, so that'll be see some familiar faces out there. It'll be good fun.
Yeah, have you learnt the names? 23 names is a lot to learn.
I'm on to most of them, but yeah, no. It's the same. It's it's like that at the club. There's a lot of change there every couple of years. There's a lot of people in and out. And so yeah, last year it took me a couple of weeks to get used to everyone's name. I'm going to do the same this year.
Yeah. Obviously last year before you moved and kind of confirmed yourself you were moving up to London, did you think about retiring, or was it kind of what was your plan, and like what is your future hopes? Kind of, are you looking at coaching, or are you looking to go into business? What are you going to do?
I think when things came to the end with Cardiff, I had an opportunity to come up to Ealing, and the regional situation was there was a bit of a uncertainty around it, whereas I had what I was given the opposite probably with Ealing, and they were showing a lot of ambition with their goals to reach the Premiership at some point, and I think I quite liked the sound of it. Retiring wasn't an option for me at the time, and still feel really, really good in myself. So I thought, well, I've got the chance and physically able to, I'd like to go and experience something else. And that was nothing against Cardiff, because I hold the club in such high regard and miss the place. But I did think while I'm able to, I was always a bit envious of lads who played rugby elsewhere, and I always thought to myself, I'd like to do that before my career ends. And when I had this opportunity, I jumped it. And truth be told, I did have one eye on what am I going to do after rugby. It hangs over you as a player a bit, but it did for me anyway. And I always thought to myself, right, what am I going to do after rugby? And I thought London was a good place for me to explore those options. Coaching, I'm not sure. I like elements of it. I'd like the working with individuals and the skill-based stuff. The thought of watching rugby on a laptop for long periods at a time, I couldn't. I don't really get much out of it now, and I don't see myself doing that. But my brother who coaches Newcastle, he loves that, and he loves like digging into things and picking things out of games, and he really gets, he likes that side of it. That's probably not for me. I'm doing my insurance qualifications with Thomas Carroll, an insurance company who are actually based in South Wales. So they've been really good to me. They put me through my insurance broking exams, which nice having a different focus other than rugby. So I thought while I'm up here, I'll try and make the most of it and jump into that side of things too.
Yes, good place to network, London, that's for sure. Do you know what I mean? So make the most of every corporate gig that's up there as well.
Sometimes after a long day of training, it's the last thing you want to do.
Yeah, no, I can imagine it's hard. But you two, right? Yeah. You go way back, you two. So do you remember the first time that you met? And have you got any stories that you'd be happy to share about each other?
I do. Well, I remember the first time we met was, I think you came over to do a fitness session.
Yeah, we did.
I remember it was an absolute brutal fitness session. I think we were both in the same place, and I remember us both. That's probably the first time we met. We were both in a bit of a hole fitness-wise, getting ready for the season. You remember that with down?
with Lewis as well, wasn't it? Down the Vale.
Yeah. I do remember a funny story on me, because Kathy asked me, like, "You got any stories about Gar?" I do remember one instance where, when you play it, and Gareth, as soon as I start saying it, you remember it. But we were given the reins against Japan in one of those games where the coaches change the whole team and tell you to take a chance. It's a really nice situation to be in, but as halfbacks, that gives you a bit of anxiety. Anyway, we narrowly beat Japan, and then the following campaign, I think the night before selection, for some reason we were both in the car together, and my phone starts. So selection's happening for the Six Nations campaign following maybe a poor performance against Japan, but a win nonetheless. And my phone starts ringing. It's Rob Howley, which I let it ring, and which usually indicates, Gareth, you're not being picked. He's just softening the blows. So I remember us talking for 2 or 3 minutes. Gareth's like, "Yeah, it looks like you've had to take the brunt of that game," and trying to make me feel better about the situation. I said, "Yeah, at least you're in the team anyway." And then 2 minutes later, Gareth's phone goes, Rob Howley as well. It's funny. Both of us Shepherd took then for that campaign. So that was something that jumped out at me. That made us both laugh at the time.
Did you?
We had some. We always used to room together, me and Lloydie.
Yeah.
I've actually got some really good videos of some good nights out. That probably would be tough to explain on this platform, but we actually had a really good skiing trip once. At the time we said we went to Dubai. There's a group of us actually.
Yeah, because you're
we
not
weren't
meant to go
technically
skiing.
allowed
Is that
to go.
why?
Yeah, we kind of just decided to risk it for this one.
Yeah.
And we went to Dubai. We went to Switzerland. We had a good couple of nights up there, but for some reason, Rhys Priestland was on this trip. After a night out, we had long down the beers. All I remember is we were walking up the road back home, and Rhys and Lloydie had a bit of a disagreement about something, and they're behind me. And next thing I heard this whoosh, and Priestland's taken off his belt, and he's got Lloydie, and he's just lashing him. And Lloyd's almost in tears while Priest just lashed him. I don't know what it was for, but that night was one of the funniest nights I've had with the boys there. And I think Lloyd still probably has a few welts on his back from that night. I don't know how it started, but it ended up in a bit of a disagreement. And Lloydie and Huff and Puff ended up walking back out to the bars alone just for a little bit to have a breather, I think. But that was an eventful night for Lloydie and Priest. I don't really know what happened there, but what was entertaining to watch anyway.
I think you're missing an important part of that story, Dan. That's the fact that you joined in and he took his belt off and started going at me as well. So what I thought was going on holiday with my friends, I was getting beaten up by both in a doorway in Switzerland.
What had you done, Lloyd? Do you remember?
To this day, I don't know, and I don't know what I'm talking about.
He deserved it anyway, guy.
Yeah, I must have deserved it.
That's what it's about, though, right? That's what makes kind of being in a team special. These kind of memories. Yes, it's on the pitch, but it's also kind of the bond off the pitch as well.
Yeah, and I think the beauty of it is, as soon as we got up in the morning, it was kind of behind us, which is sometimes things like that can maybe in different groups can cause a bit of a kind of fraction, but I think it was all behind us by 9 o'clock the next day.
We were back having beers by 9:30 the next morning, so I think we moved on pretty quickly.
Lloyd, my main question is, though, did you have to explain the whip marks to anybody?
I think I kept my top on for the next month or so. I was so embarrassed. I didn't want to say that two of the boys beat me up, especially two outside halves. It's okay if it was a front row forward or something, but 2 10s, that's not pretty hearing.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of 10s, I want to ask you about this, because Rhys Priestland was on a few weeks ago, right? And he said that what he enjoyed most about playing in New Zealand was the fact that the team was geared for him as a 10. It was all set up for him as a 10. And then he used the example of when he was playing for Wales, for example, it was geared for Biggs to lead it as 10. Can you relate to that? And what is the difference in terms of having a team geared for you and when it's not?
Yeah, it's an interesting point. It's pretty valid, I'd say. I think within that, look, 10s and like Lloydie, halfbacks tend to drive the coach's game plan. So you're always working very closely with the coaches to imprint, obviously, what they want on the field. And then within that, I think the halfbacks, 9s and 10s, have to make so many decisions within that game plan. But within that, I think when your 10s feel comfortable and they feel like the game plan suits them, then it gives them a better chance to express themselves, and maybe you're not trying to play a style that maybe doesn't suit and might not suit your strengths, because ultimately you need to play to your strengths, don't you? So maybe that's one of the challenges at the moment for Wales is finding a game plan that suits the horses they have at the moment, because it always changes, and 10s and 9s play such an influential role in making those decisions and trying to guide the team around that. I think it certainly helps players relax when they maybe feel accustomed to the game plan and they feel like they've got real control of it. I think if you've got that control, then you can have clarity and confidence to go and execute. And I think that's probably what Patch is alluding to there.
Yeah. He kept saying, like, once I was given the keys in New Zealand, I was kind of excited to get up and go. Do you know what I mean? Lloyd, is that the same for a 9 or is it completely different?
Yeah, similar. I'd say it's similar to some extent. Everyone has their strengths within their game, and if you can play to them and use them as much as you can, you're going to be able to show what you can do and influence the game the way you want. Probably why looking at someone like Ellis Bevan now playing in Cardiff. Unfortunately for Cardiff, they've been exiting a lot this year, which has given him a chance to show off his kicking game. He's got a big boot, which something like that. Like if you're a kicking nine, kicking off nine is something you'd like the team to be doing because you can show off what you can do and what you can bring to the party. On the other hand, some nines probably that's not their strength, and you'd want to be kicking a bit more off the other back. So yeah, I definitely would agree. If you feel like there's a game plan there based around your strengths, it's something you can impose on the game then.
Yeah. Speaking of Ellis, obviously in Australia, him and Ben have played 9 and 10 together. Do you think that's something Cardiff will adopt, Lloyd?
I think Ben's a really good player, and I've seen the best of him at 12. That's not to say I actually thought he did really well in the second test. I thought he was the difference why Wales looked a bit better in the second test. But I could see Ben being a real influence at 12. And the same with probably, I know we're going on speaking about someone else now, but like Mason, really see him having a real effect on the wing. So seeing those two out of position was something that, not to say Ben can't play there because he showed that he could, but I thought you can probably see them have more of an influence on the game in other positions. But that's where they chose to play him, and that's that. But I guess I wasn't surprised to see him play because of probably Gatz's comments pre-tour about how he wanted a bit more of a physical 10, which was something that I'm not sure is like quite on the top of the priority list for outside halves, but he decided that's the route he wanted to go down. So I did think Ben, out of the 10s on tour, that was the fit there.
And you mentioned Mason as well, though. So you got kind of him and Ben, obviously in Cardiff. Is that a chat that Warren Gatland should have with Cardiff about, right, I want to do this with them on an international level. Can you help me out here? Or would that conversation not happen? They'd kind of be completely disjointed, if you like.
I would say being aligned is so much better for everyone. But ultimately, I think Cardiff have seen what Mason can do on the wing for them. And in different games, he has literally broken the game up for Cardiff on the wing and using him to hit up off first phase. I haven't heard jockey Matt Sherratt hasn't said this to me personally, but knowing the way I think he thinks about the game, I think he sees Mason doing a bit more damage and a bit more space. Whereas for Wales, he is that gain line guy really, and so I've kind of gone off piste a bit there. Then, but I do think if club and country can work together, they bring the best out of the players. Whether Cardiff see those boys in those positions, I don't know, but it certainly would benefit both if they were aligned. I would say so.
Yeah, I mean, he sat here, Mason, and said himself that he doesn't care what position he plays, which I'd imagine when you're playing for a professional team or your country, you probably generally don't care. So, Guy, you didn't mind if you played 10 or 15, I take it. You just wanted to play, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think particularly for Wales and at that level, you will play anywhere to get yourself on the field. Yeah, I'm sure he will have a preference. We all do. But yeah, the challenge for Wales and for Cardiff is how do you get the best out of Mason, and like Lloyd said, I think the quicker they can get lined, so he's able to just focus on one position or the two, the better, because it's a big step up and trying to cover 2, 3, 4 positions that Mason can cover it is a challenge. So I'm sure that's something that those coaches, like Lloydie said, will probably have to discuss post-tour because we know he's such a special athlete that it's just given him the most opportunities to show what he's got.
And Lloyd, there's nothing wrong from time to time, kind of move in from like scrum-half to another position, like the wing, and scoring an amazing try in a World Cup and getting involved like that.
Nothing wrong with that, but I did want to play 9 the next week.
So did you? Yeah.
Probably, yeah. But again, so I think I did the whole week, the following week on the wing preparing, and I was very happy to do that. So, Gareth's right. Like if you're on that field anyway, you just want to be out there. So, I think it's natural to be a bit selfish. You want to play the position that you love, and like going back to our first point, the position that you feel like can have most impact on the game.
Yeah, it's a big change though, isn't it? Moving kind of from centre to 10 because you're calling all the shots. So for Ben, I thought, considering the task he got asked upon him in Australia, Lloyd, I thought he did really, really well.
Yeah, I agree. I think he did well. I think in tough circumstances as well. I'd say that it's the second test. I really, it's not taking it away from anything they did in the first, but I did think the second test he had a few real nice touches with the ball after a bit of a shaky start, and yeah, Ben's a good player. Like he played some very good stuff at 15, 12, and at 10 for Cardiff over the years, and he's just got it. But I guess for Ben is it's probably the next step is where can he really cement that position down and make his own and achieve things in that Welsh jersey.
And Gav, for you, mate, obviously back in Gloucester, is that your aim now to get fit in Gloucester, get playing back in the Wales team as well?
Yeah, hopefully. Look, I certainly am pretty, driven to try and get back there if I can. I certainly feel like I've got something to offer and bring a little bit of experience to the team. But my focus will just be about trying to back up some really good performances for Gloucester and just spend some time on the field. And hopefully if I can do that, then I'll give myself a chance. But look, you look at the squad at the moment, it's insanely young. It's lost a ton of experience over the last 2 to 3 years, not just after the World Cup. And the team's just trying to learn and find a way at the moment. So I'd like to think that hopefully I could bring some experience there if my form warrants it. And, I'd love to be back out there. It's a no-brainer for me. But, look, there's some guys still coming back. You think Toby, hopefully he can get himself back on the field and get fit. We've seen Wainwright, how good he's been over the last year. So there's some depth slowly building. And I'd like to think that maybe a couple of older heads coming back can balance the place out a little bit and add some experience to the group as well.
Yeah, we were talking quite a bit with Rhys and Alex last week or the week before about Warren Gatland, the way he communicates with his squad, and we touched on Sam Parry and how he doesn't tell you if you're playing or not and how he keeps you on your toes. So have you been in contact with Gats at all during the summer, Gab, about kind of your personal plans and kind of your hopes and ambitions?
No, we haven't spoken at all. I spoke to him post Six Nations, and that's when we sort of had that discussion around maybe having a little bit of a plan for the future. And obviously, there's never any guarantees at this level. But we spoke about how the next 12 months can evolve, and the biggest thing for me is obviously just playing and backing up games and trainings, and if my body holds up and I'm playing well, then clearly I'd love to be a part of it. So that was the plan around the summer. Is clearly being out for so long is going to make things tough to try and jump back and play at the level that's required to play well for Wales. So my focus was to have a good preseason for Gloucester, get myself right, and hopefully get into the start of the Premiership, which is something I'm really looking forward to, and we'll see where we end up come November.
And Lloyd, to finish on Wales, from that tour Australia, is there positives you think we can take into the future and kind of come into the autumn, we can kind of get some momentum, some wins under our belt?
Well, I certainly think the second, both tests showed that they've got a real weapon in their driving maul, which is it's a weapon and something to use. You see, like the Ospreys over the last few years, if you can get back in the game with something and have something to fall back on, it's always good to have. I really think you're right. You've got like a spine of the team coming back. You've got Josh Adams, you got Thomas. Gareth asked me to mention him coming back at 10. So you got Toby, Will Rowlands, and Adam Beard. Like all of a sudden, you've got like a real spine of experienced players, which are more than capable of winning test matches. So I think that's a promising sign. You probably forgot a few lads there, like Jack Morgan and so on. So you've got a lot of strength coming back and experience, and I think that's where this tour will really show whether it was beneficial come the autumn. Unfortunately, it's been a tough trip. It's tough to really put it in perspective as well, because we don't really know how good Australia are. But I think that's promising signs for Wales with this calibre of playing coming back into the fold for the autumn.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, it's not as doom as gloom as we think. Potentially, if we can get some players back, definitely some experience as well. Did you get a tour with Ealing this summer, Lloyd?
No, we did a tour.
Yeah.
No, we
Like a
last
trip,
year
away trip.
we went to Palma last year and played Zebra, which was nice. But this year, no, I think we blew the budget on it that year, so we're not going anywhere. We've got 3 games. We played Bristol, Cardiff, and Bath. So we're just a UK-based trip this year.
You're organising it in Cardiff, the night out, definitely.
It's up in London, so I'll be organising their night out probably.
There you go. Then even better. Well, Lloyd, listen, mate, it's been great to catch up, and wish you all the well for the rest of the season and stuff, and whatever you do next as well. And Gat, I suppose you've got to get back to kind of sorting the house out, right?
Yep, straight to unpacking more boxes. Unfortunately, the kids are away at nursery in Cardiff, actually, so my wife is bringing them up, so I've got about an hour to try and get as much stuff done as possible.
Well, have you really got a list, to hit hard now?
Oh, yeah. Finished training, I've got chores to do, so it doesn't stop at the moment, unfortunately.
Yeah, good. Well, make the most of it and enjoy it, mate. And I wish you all the best if I don't speak to you before the first game of the season.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Gareth, Lloyd, thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And
Cheers,
thanks to
guys.
you for listening at home as well. It's been a lovely pod, that, with Lloyd and Gareth. Remember, you can find us on socials. Just search Sportin Wales and you'll find us there. And tell your friends about us and share the love. And we'll catch you next week. Wherever you go, wherever you are, enjoy your Sportin Wales week.
Sportin Wales podcast.
Supported by Dragon Bet.
Your go-to for Welsh sports news and views.